Welcome everybody to today's webinar dealing with a guide to federal funding resources. Let me see if you've ever been in this situation. You've got a particular program or problem and you need some funding resources to help you deal with that problem. Maybe you've got some funding and you need some additional funding to fill a gap, or maybe you don't have any funding and you're thinking, how do I find possible federal funding resources to meet my needs? I've got good news today, and that is that process has been dramatically improved in recent times. And we're going to walk you through that and make sure you understand how you can go about accessing federal funding resources whenever you are in need. So today's session is how to navigate the universe, and it is a universe, of federal funding resources to find specifically what might meet your particular needs. Next slide. So we know from experience that finding your way through that labyrinth or maze of possible federal funding sources can be a difficult process. There are dozens and dozens of federal agencies and literally hundreds of programs that are out there that might still be active or might not be, that might still be funded or might not be, that might meet your specific needs or might not. And going through that process can be a very time-consuming and difficult one, but that world has been made much easier. There are some excellent new resources that we're going to talk about today in the next few minutes that we think are going to help you work your way through that process. Next slide. First, let me share with you, as someone who's been around for many years, what it used to be like before things were improved recently. Most of you who have done this for a while are familiar with something called the Catalog of Federal Domestic Assistance. As we do in the government, it's an acronym, CFDA, the Catalog of Federal Domestic Assistance. And it used to be published by the U.S. General Services Administration, GSA. And back when I was at HUD many years ago, we only got hard copies. This was before the days of computers and internet. And we literally could only afford one or two copies for our entire office, and they were probably 6 inches thick. So when you were asking yourself, is there another federal program out there that might be useful? You literally had to wade yourself through that huge catalog to identify a particular agency or program that might help. And then once you'd done that, you never knew whether that program was still active or still funded. So it was a very time-consuming and difficult chore. That old Catalog of Federal Domestic Assistance was not kept as current as we would like. Typically, it was updated only on an annual basis, and we would get a brand new version of that 6-inch thick catalog every year. Each year, any new programs passed by Congress were added to the catalog. And for the most part, old programs that had expired, that were no longer applicable, were deleted from that catalog. But what you didn't know was whether or not there was funding available. And you had to contact a particular federal agency in order to find out whether that program was still viable and whether it might need your specific needs. So it was a very time-consuming and difficult chore to work your way through that process. Next slide. Welcome to the new world. As in everything else, things have been updated and I think dramatically improved. The old Catalog of Federal Domestic Assistance was replaced by a website referred to as SAM.gov or betasam.gov. It is now a fully online system, so I use it myself. You can access it on your computer through the internet. And it's easily used to do what you need to do, and that is to identify possible funding that you might be able to access. It is truly a one-stop shop now. instead of going to every federal agency and trying to look through their website to see what might be available. It's all pulled together into that one single place. So it's a one-stop shop for all federal funding resources. The next thing, and the one that I really, really like, is that this system is now fully searchable, as we'll show you in just a few minutes. You don't have to somehow go through all of those programs to figure out which ones might meet your specific needs. You start with the need, and it will sort it out and show you which federal programs might be available to meet those needs. The next thing is particularly useful, and that is that they do their best. It can't be current every day, but they do their best to keep that, that process and that site current. So as new programs are added, they're added to the website whenever Congress passes a new program. A good example would be the recent COVID funding programs. As old programs expire, they are removed from that catalog. Funding amounts are often shown, so you'll know whether that program that might still be on the books, that's still out there, is it being funded or not? What's the point of pursuing a program if you find out that there is no current money available for that program? And then in each case, it gives you the contacts to reach out to get more specific information. So if it's a program administered by HUD and it's administered by, let's say, the Office of Community Planning and Development, it will show you who to go to get more detailed information. So it's a great resource for you anytime you're in this process. Next slide. So let's just show you what happens when you go to that SAM.gov website. This is the first page that you will see. And if you'll notice on the left-hand side of the chart, there's a variety of options available to you under the official US government system 4. For example, maybe you're looking for contracting opportunities with federal agencies. It gives you a place to go to identify those contracting options. Maybe you're dealing with a construction project and you need to get Department of Labor wage determinations for that project. You'll notice there on the left-hand side, wage determinations can be accessed through this website. The one we're going to deal with today is the one in the second column, and that's assistance listings. And you'll notice in parentheses, it says it was the CFDA.gov, Catalog of Federal Domestic Assistance. So that's the one that I think you're going to find most useful anytime you're trying to find possible funding sources. So let's assume you click that assistance listing blue heading. Up will come the next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, so now you have the assistance listings site, and here's the beauty of the system. If you're looking for grant opportunities, you can also visit that grants.gov site that's listed there. But here's the part that I think is most useful. They give you as examples search assistance listings, and they give as an example school lunches. So maybe you're looking for funding for school lunches, funding to help with a homeless shelter, or funding to help with a construction project, or maybe a housing development, whatever it might be. You enter that into that search box, click the search button, and up will pop a list pretty much in priority order of what kinds of federal funding might be available to help you with that particular need. So that old laborious process of wading through that catalog to see if you can find what you need has now been dramatically improved with this one-stop shop. So keep that in mind. I would do like I have done. I've already bookmarked that so that I can go to it anytime I'm looking for a federally funding resource. Next slide. So the bottom line, you're in this process, you're looking for federal funding, you want to know more, simply go to that website, sam.gov. And you can go to /content/home, and it will take you to what you need. Again, I think it's a dramatic improvement. I would encourage everybody to have this available on their computer, and go in at some point when you get a moment, if you get a moment of quiet, and just tinker with it and get used to it, get comfortable with it, because I think you'll find it as a great option for you anytime you're trying to develop a program. With that, we thank you for your time, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.